from each happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight, reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey, and we are back today with our 77th deep dive into the 77th Disney feature-length film from December the 2nd of 1965. It is a film called That Darn Cat.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned in our last episode, That Darn Cat is the end of Hayley Mills' run with the feature-length film. She does return for some of the remakes of The Parent Trap down the line in the 80s and the 90s. Hayley Mills, who's still acting today in different forms, but her run with the Disney feature-length thing comes to an end here. Speaking of remakes, there is a remake of this many years later. In the 90s, there's a remake of That Darn Cat, which I've never seen. And then also we are introducing Dean Jones. Dean Jones, this is his first film with the company. He is about to go on a run with a bunch of films, kind of like Tommy Kirk did. So they replaced one with the other here.
Fess Parker.
That's right, Fess Parker before that. And then whoever the guy was before that, whose name I don't remember.
I don't remember his name.
Mucci. No, not Mucci.
Kevin Corcoran?
No, but there was
Kevin Corcoran had a lot too, though.
He did, but there was somebody that was the guy before Fess Parker.
Yeah, I don't remember what his name was.
Like he was in a bunch of films in the beginning. Yeah, I don't know, but
I have to look it up.
Whatever. Our new person's Dean Jones, and then so this is based off of the 1963 novel *The Undercover Cat* by Gordon and Mildred. And then before we dive into the opening credits and all that fun stuff, would you like to start us off with a synopsis and some opening thoughts and some trivia and all that fun jazz?
A cat holds a clue to bank robbers holding a teller hostage.
Sad. Bankers deserve some respect. Sorry, but go ahead. I'm gonna look up this dude's name. So if you want to start off with any like notes or any of that fun stuff.
Yes. So, the Seal Point Siamese cats, who collectively played the role of DC in this movie, were all traditional Siamese, as opposed to their more streamlined contemporaries. And the fancier of traditional Siamese, they're also affectionately known as appleheads, which I thought was cute because I used to have a Chihuahua and she was an applehead Chihuahua. She wasn't a deerhead Chihuahua. And I prefer appleheads. Anyway.
Was it one of the... Go ahead, I don't want to cut you off.
What?
I was going to say, wasn't one of the... Was it Richard Todd? No, I don't know. Wasn't one of the cats from this also one of the cats from the Great Adventure that we watched somewhere recently or whatever? Did you read that?
I don't think I did.
Yeah, one of the cats from this was also one of the cats they used on that
movie, that would make sense.
We watched somewhere recently.
And then a goof from this film is it's clearly evidenced by numerous scenes in which DC makes a rear view retreat from the camera. The cat is changing sexes, so obviously they're not using the exact same cat throughout the entire movie. So in one scene the cat might be female, and another scene is clearly male. An interesting tidbit that I found was the 1964 Mercedes 230 SL that appeared in the film as Roddy McDowall's car was actually Walt Disney's personal car. Disney rented his car to the film for $100 per day, possibly because he felt guilty about buying himself such an expensive car. So the Disney family still owns this car to this day. So that's interesting Disney trivia, I guess.
Richard Todd. That's the guy. That was the guy before Fess Parker. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Patty, which is Haley Mills'
Haley
character, discusses her dislike of surfer movies, and it's clearly a cheeky reference to AIP's concurrent beach party movies, reflecting Walt Disney's discomfort of his former star Annette Funicello appearing in them.
Because she stopped the previous couple films, and now she's in these beach movies.
Yeah. And this movie stars 4 Academy Award nominees: Grayson Hall, William Demarest, Elsa Lanchester, and Ed Wynn.
My dude. He doesn't laugh in this film.
He does.
I don't know.
There was a nervous laugh when he was on the
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, anything else before we jump right into it, or you want to save the rest for later, or what do you want?
Well, like you said, this is Haley Mills' last Disney movie of the 1960s and her last juvenile role. Her next Disney role is in The Parent Trap 2 in 1986.
Which is a made-for-TV movie.
Yep, and the remake of That Darn Cat in 1997, which was, I guess, Christina Ricci's last Disney role. I don't know if you knew that or not. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, the film is based off of a novella entitled Undercover Cat, but later publications of the book were titled That Darn Cat to capitalize on the film's release.
Makes sense.
Among the major differences between the book and the film are the appearance of DC and the character of Canoe, who does not appear in the book at all.
Mm-hmm.
Canoe was a very interesting character.
He loves to eat.
And the book describes DC as an obese, 25-pound black cat rather than a Siamese.
Yeah, I don't call him DC in my notes. I call him the cat. So it's going to be the cat a lot in this conversation. But they do call him DC for Darn Cat.
Yeah. And likewise, Patty Randall is the older of the 2 sisters in the book.
Ingrid.
And she is not the character who is romantically attached to both Gregory and Zeke Kelso.
Spoiler. But ready to dive?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we see a house with some piano music playing during the opening credits, and then a cat leaves like the cat door, and it's prowling in the neighborhood, causing a ruckus. We then see that there's like a newspaper, and there's like a guy buying like the newspapers that says like saying that there's bank robbers that stole from the bank, and that they kidnapped the teller.
Yeah.
And there's this suspicious gentleman that, like, again, he steals the newspaper, he buys the newspapers, and but he's followed by the cat. The cat is really good at just like causing a ruckus. Go ahead.
And I had in my notes, Disney loves Siamese cats.
We are slaying me.
Like, why do you think they picked a Siamese cat? Anyway.
Because they already had them from the previous. I don't know. So tie you in here. Suspicious dude buying newspapers, talking about himself, and the cat follows. He goes up into this apartment where we see that he's talking to another culprit, because there's 2 bank robbers about them being in the newspaper. We learn that they only got 160 grand, and they were hoping to get over 200. I don't remember exactly how much that is. I didn't look at how much it is now. It's still too much money. We also at that point then see that they in the apartment there is the kidnapped bank teller who's tied up. She has like a gag in her mouth. Well, it's like her mouth is like taped shut pretty much. They untie her and they tell her to cook for them. And they hear a noise at the door, and they open it to find that the darn cat is letting itself in. Like the cat is just, just ready to be there.
Yep.
So they like fight over keeping the cat, whatever. They're not trying to cause any scenes or anything, because obviously they just robbed a bank for $160,000, and they have this poor lady. So the kidnapped lady is like trying to cook, but she's also like trying to like save herself. So she like sneakily takes off the cat's collar, and then takes off her watch and carves the word help as much as she can. She gets like HEL into the back of the watch, puts it on as a collar, and then like sneakily opens the door to like let the cat out, but she gets caught, and she goes, "Oh, well, the cat needed to get outside or whatever." So they don't freak out on her. So the cat now has the collar of the watch that has the carving of the help. The criminal surrender her some more. The cat then continues prowling. What's going on here? The cat then continues its prowling. We then see Haley Mills' character, which we mentioned is Patty. Is she returning? She's
Canoe.
She's returning from a date with Canoe. What a stupid name. And the guy's like, "I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna make myself a sandwich." Homeboy loves to eat sandwiches.
It's a reoccurring thing in this movie.
Yep. And she's like, "All right, well, I'm going to bed. Let yourself out afterwards or whatever." So she goes up to bed because she's a good girl. And we learn that her parents are out of town. For this whole film, her parents are out of town, and her sister Ingrid will be home shortly. Who's the older sister? That's very important to keep in mind for later. This is the older sister. And so Canoe is like talking about all these like movies that he wants to see, like these beach movies. And Patty's like, "I hate beach movies," which will also come back into play later. So while she goes out to bed, he makes himself a sandwich and he eats like with the cat. He's like feeding the cat, and he turns on the TV with like this really old-fashioned remote control. And right on the news is about the robbery. So now they know about the robbery, right? Miss anything? We're good. The cat sneaks back in the house. Like I said, they turn on the news to find out about the robbery.
Yeah, so they've got it on the news channel, and then obviously he's a surfer, and they start talking on the news about the weather report, and they're talking about, for surfers, your weather report is da da da. And I thought it was funny that the weather woman was dressed in a bikini. I was like, "What?"
A bikini for the time. It was a one piece.
Well, actually, it was a one piece. It was a bathing suit. Anyway. And then you see Canoe sitting there finishing his sandwich. He pets the cat. He notices that the cat has the watch around his neck. Notices the time on it. Stands up. Brushes the crumbs from his sandwich underneath the couch. And then heads out the house. But before he leaves, he wipes his hands on the curtains and then leaves.
But yeah, that was funny. He also says like, "Hey, tomorrow we'll go surfing," to like Patty.
Yeah.
Which sets up them hanging out the next day. And then but when he opens the door to leave, the cat leaves as well. Right? Another couple shows up, which is Ingrid, the sister, being brought home from work by this dude named Gregory, who's like an older dude, but he's like clearly all about her, but he's also clearly all about his mother, because he was talking about like bringing her home for his mother, and she's kind of like using this dude for rides to and from work, because she's like not into him, but he's clearly into her, but he's all about telling her that like, "My mom's gonna make you a duck dinner tomorrow."
Have you ever had duck?
No, I mean,
I've
I just started eating meat recently. I don't know, but
and I feel like that would be weird.
So, but he's like, "I waited in this duck blind," which is funny. We just watched those Callaways. He waited in this duck thing for so long to kill this one duck.
How many films into the future now do you think you're going to be able to reference those Callaways?
But challenge accepted. So long story short, this dude waits in the rain for a long time to kill this duck. He only gets to kill one duck, and he has it like hanging till like dry. Yeah. And then the next day,
we went back into Old Yeller.
The mom is going to fix it for her, and she's like, "Oh, good, a free meal, awesome."
She's gonna fix it.
Well, like, isn't that what you call like when you cook something? You like fix the meal.
Yeah, that's what I always said. But when we first met each other, you always used to give me crap for it. Well, you're like, "I've never fixed anything."
Yeah, it was like, I never made a duck.
Is it broken? That's what you asked me.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So the cat then breaks into that dude's house. To like get the hanging duck, and he like jumps up on the ironing board onto like the window, and he American
ninjas his way to get it.
Yeah, he gets the duck,
Mhm.
Which causes the dude to get all upset because he like fought for this duck and he waited in the rain all day for this duck. Um, he goes back over to the house and he's like fighting with Patty about the cat. And he's like I'm gonna kill your cat. And she's like she's like well he doesn't have the duck, and then the cat comes in like with the duck in its mouth like um so Gregory reprimands the cat. Um,
And
then
says the next time he sees that cat in his yard, it's going to end up with some buckshot.
Yep. And then the two sisters argue, but then as they're arguing, Patty sees that the cat's collar is different, and Patty's like, "It's a watch," and she takes the watch off, and on the back of it, she sees the HEL, and she's like, "Well, it has to mean help." And then she instantly thinks that the watch belongs to the kidnapped teller woman. Sleuth. She's a sleuth. She worked for the FBI.
Yeah. Harriet the Spy.
How many movies in order are you going to reference Harriet the Spy? Oh yeah, you dropped it last time. You messed up. So whatever. She thinks that it belongs to the kidnapped lady. But the next morning, Ingrid is like, "I have to go to work." So Gregory's picking her up, but she's like, "Promise me you won't go to the police. Like we don't need to startle the police. This is nothing."
Yeah.
So she's like, "All right, I'm not going to the police." So she goes to the FBI. She goes to the FBI. So she goes and visits the FBI with her information.
I'll one up your police.
She's the secretary's not helping her, so she sneaks into the agent's office and she talks to this dude named Agent Kelso, who's the guy I was talking about earlier. Yes. She tells him all the.
I have a hard time finding anyone named Kelso to be taken seriously. And I swear it's that 70s
this is
show, but
from way before that. Even if that 70s show was filmed in the 70s, this is still before that.
There was another film that we watched not long ago before that. There was also somebody named Kelso. Was there not?
I don't remember.
I feel like
so whatever. She tells this dude all the information. She gives him the watch. He says that the lady who got kidnapped did have a watch on, but it may not be the watch. And he's like, I'm not like I want nothing to do with this, whatever. But then Kelso is instructed by his like superiors that he has to set up surveillance and watch the cat, as it may lead to the bank robbers. Right?
Yep.
So then Kelso takes his orders, but this is where we realize that he is allergic to cats.
Yep.
Because of course he is. Hilarious. Kind of like from the Shaggy Dog, where that dude was allergic to dogs. So Kelso is allergic to cats. He tells Patty to keep it all a secret, not to spoil the investigation. But then we meet this next door neighbor lady, right? Tell me about this next door neighbor lady.
She's the nosiest lady, and she gets what's coming to her.
Yep. So this next door neighbor lady, who's new to the area, is just like spying on everybody. She is the neighborhood spy, the neighborhood watch, like from Hot Fuzz.
That's a good way to describe her.
Yeah, many years in the future, and definitely not Disney. But so this next door neighbor lady is she keeps like seeing these like cars come to the house, and one of the cars is the agent's car. So she's like, "Oh, it has to be a romantic encounter." She is very much snooping, but her husband, who has like hearing aids. Volume 1 or like version 1, they're like these really old-fashioned hearing aids. He takes them out of his ears.
But when I first saw it, I thought he had on like the the CD, like a portable CD player, like we had back in the day. So, that's what it looked like.
No, I thought it was like remember we went on like that the Magic Kingdom Walt Disney tour. We had to wear the pieces.
Yeah,
whatever. So whatever. That just shows that she's a snooper.
And at one point she gets called Snoopy, which I thought was funny.
So he's Kelso's like, I have to set up an office. They choose the sister's room, but instantly he starts sneezing because the cat's there. The cat is not a fan of the agent, doesn't like the camera flash, doesn't like getting its paws like fingerprinted.
No. It doesn't want to do anything that they want
Yeah,
to.
like
It's a true cat.
very much not a fan. But then the boy from earlier, Canoe, shows up from because he wants his date, and the agent tells Patty to like get rid of him, so she like fakes being sick, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
on to them because he sees her, and then like run up the stairs normally. And it cuts to back to the burglars, and the landlord lady is like, "Hey, I heard a lady upstairs. You have to pay extra in rent. Did you have somebody living with you?" And they're like, "Oh, it's such and such's mother. She's sick or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Well, you have to give me more money. Your rent's going up by whatever, $20 or something, $5. I forgot what it was." Um, but then the captured lady overhears the men talking about how they're going to get rid of her and where they're going to hide the body. So then she gets really nervous. And then we see that the FBI is setting up to track the cat. Blah blah blah. The nosy neighbor, who's a better detective than the FBI agent, she takes her husband's hearing aid
Mm-hmm.
and like attaches it to the fishing pole to like fish it over there to try to hear what's going on. But whatever, the cat ends up beginning its night prowling, and it's being tracked by the agents. I guess every night at 9 o'clock it starts its prowling. Can't find anything.
I looked it up and I couldn't find another one, but I swear I thought we watched another one that somebody was referenced as Kelso.
What's the Moon Pilot guy's name?
It wasn't that. And I forgot
but
what it was.
so whatever. The cat is doing its thing.
Oh, maybe I didn't go back far enough.
Snoopy lady is snooping. Whatever. So the cat ends up leading the FBI agents on like this wild goose chase, this wild cat chase, we'll say, because all the goose were from those Callaways. There's another reference. There you go. But then at the same time, Patty's sister is brought back home by the duck guy from earlier.
Talbot.
Talbot. Oh yeah, he was Talbot. That's right. So whatever. Either way,
him?
that was a long time ago too. So Patty's brought back home, and she's very upset about how Kelso was taking over her bedroom. All the agents are chasing after the cat, and they're like, "Oh, we finally found it!" Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "We found it. It's breaking into this house." And they're like, "We got it!" And then everyone's all excited. They're all talking, and the cat's just breaking back into its own house. So like the FBI agents in like a very slapstick way, like break into the room where the agent is anyway, and they're like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?" And then it cuts to the next morning where the nosy neighbor lady tells the carpool dude Gregory about how Ingrid had a guy in her room the night before. So then he gets upset. Kelso talks. Kelso ends up deciding that he wants to bug the cat, like put like a listening device on the cat and like a tracking device.
Mm-hmm.
So they do that. Patty goes out with Canoe. Ingrid locks herself in the closet for some reason. Why did Ingrid get locked in the closet?
I don't remember.
Ingrid's locked in the closet. Kelso decides to go help her. But then, whatever. They're able to free her. The cat gets out. Whatever. There we are. The cat leads the people on another comedic chase. They go into like the drive-in theater. Canoe and Patty are on a date in the drive-in theater. They're watching a beach movie. They're arguing. More hijinks occurs. There's like people like jumping from car to car, falling into convertibles. People are spilling food everywhere. Health inspectors. It's like this whole big slapstick scene. Mm-hmm. Anything I missed from that scene? No, it was a fun little scene. Probably my favorite scene from the whole movie, actually. But the cat ends up leading Kelso to a pigeon coop.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cat breaks into the pigeon coop, but then gets shot at for breaking into the pigeon coop by Gregory, because he says next time the cat's coming here, he's going to get shot. But then Kelso is alerted by the gunshot, so he thinks it's the burglars. And then the Snoopy neighbor lady gets concerned about the gunshot too, so then she's running out there. And at the same time, Canoe is bringing back Patty, and then he sees the agent guy chasing after the cat.
Mhm.
They think that the shooter was the robbers, but then we find out he calls in like his superiors. He's like, we got him, we got him, we got him. And then, but unfortunately, it was Gregory, the pigeon duck owning guy from earlier.
Mhm.
Um, and then he's like, well, I'm here to find the prowler, which was Kelso. So they end up having to whatever they have to call like his superiors and be like, never mind, it was a false alarm.
Yeah.
Kelso hides in the closet, but then the cat makes him sneeze, blowing his spot. The two men have a confrontation, which causes Gregory to storm off and says that he's no longer giving any more rides to Ingrid. Ingrid's rides are officially done. But now Canoe is angry and wants answers. But then he sees like the dude yielding the gun, so then he runs away. But then this is where Kelso informs the girls that he has orders to wrap this up, and this whole case is fruitless, and there's no supporting evidence. So like it's done.
Mhm.
They called all of the jewelry people and all the watch people in the town, and none of these watches matched the persons. So it's a useless case, which upsets Patty. So then the next day, Patty goes to the jewelry store. She's actually followed by Canoe, where it's owned by Edwin's character. I don't know if you're doing your research over there, but yeah, so it's owned by Edwin's character.
Yeah, I just swore there was somebody named Kelso
Well,
in one of our other movies,
haven't-
and I've gone all the way back to the Shaggy Dog now.
no. So
And I
stop.
can't find
So
it.
stop on that, and then if anybody knows, they can email us at deepdiveinthemagicpod@gmail.com, and we'll report back on the next film.
Oh, it's gonna bother me.
So now we're up to date with all like this crazy slapstick going on. Patty goes to visit the jewelry store, which is owned by the eccentric Ed Wood.
Mhm.
He's being very loud and very nervous, but he's not laughing.
He did laugh, nervous laugh.
Dude loves to laugh.
So we were graced by the Mad Hatter.
Dude loves to laugh. But then Patty's like, all right, I'm taking this into my own hands. So he calls Kelso from the jewelry man's store, pretending to be like his niece, one of the employees, stating that the watch did belong to the captured teller, tangling the web some more. But then the FBI calls back Mr. Hofstetter, who's the star from Big Bang Theory, but also
I thought the same thing when we were watching it. I'm like, I wonder if that's how they picked out the name.
Also, it's the jeweler, Edwin. He backs her up. He lies and backs her up. So then, but we also get back to the so whatever, they end up doing one more try to follow this cat, but at the same time, it goes back to the burglar's house, their apartment, and the lady is now knows that her time is like running short, so she like tries to like light a fire in like a wastebasket to catch the house on fire for her to be able to able to flee, but it doesn't work. Only it makes them angrier, but they can't afford to have her around anymore, so that's to expedite things. But then they decided that they're going to turn on the fan to like blow the smoke out, which causes the money to blow all over the place. Like the money is very much like a like the money's just blowing it.
Like one of those
one of those like sticky
things.
things. Yeah, money's all over the place. At the same time, there's like a knock at the door, and it's the landlady because she smelled smoke, and she's like, "You have to give me more money for this lady you have living here. That's such and such's mother." And at the same time, like a $20 bill comes flying down from like the fan and lands on her, and she's like, "All right, we're even," and then she leaves. The FBI sets up another surveillance, but then Patty blows her spot about the jeweler's story. But at this point, they're in too deep. Canoe is doing his own investigation. The nosy neighbor lady is doing her own investigation, which causes the nosy lady's husband to call the cops on her. You want to talk about that scene where he calls the cops on her?
He calls the cops on her. They show up. They arrest her.
Because he says that she's a man dressed as a woman.
Yes. And they're just like, honey, if you're going to go out here dressed like a woman, you should really do something else for another costume because you're too ugly to be a woman.
That's awful.
With that, you don't with that face, and I was just like, "That's terrible."
Awful. But more hijinks.
But she kind of got what was coming to her.
Yeah,
She is very
she was
nosy.
nosy. So more hijinks happens. Everybody is chasing after everybody. Nobody knows what's going on. It's this person chasing after this person, chasing after this person.
Mhm.
At one point, Canoe gets stuck in an open garage door. Like the
Yeah.
garage door just like opens like this way, and then he just gets like taken with it, and he gets stuck in the garage door.
Yeah.
Like a precursor to the Scream movies in a bunch of years. But whatever. So Canoe
He doesn't
gets
die, though.
no, I know Canoe gets stuck in the garage door. But then the cat, which is who we're all chasing in one way or another, sees the criminals and follows the criminals into the apartment. And then Kelso, who's listening in on the bug, hears the criminals talking about finishing the job, so all units move in. But then the criminals find that there's like a bug, like a listening machine on the cat's collar, so they smash it. But at the same time, Kelso arrives at the apartment.
Mm-hmm. It says he's looking for his cat.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for my cat," but the cat doesn't like Kelso, so like he's
like, "Oh, we have your cat. Come on in."
Yeah, and then but then like there's a bunch of tense.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, obviously the cat doesn't like you." And then
but
he's
Patty,
like, "Well, it's my wife's cat.
Yeah,
and it really doesn't like me."
So then Patty, who overhears this, breaks in because she's been following this too.
So she knocks on the door.
And she enters the apartment to grab the cat. She's pretending to be Kelso's wife, even though he's substantially older than she is in all these movies. They love to do that to her. Yeah. But then they turn around and the criminals have pulled a gun on them.
Yeah, because he's like, "Oh, so your husband couldn't get you a ring?"
And he's like, "She's good at losing things or whatever."
Yeah, and I was like, "She could have taken it off to wash the dishes."
Yeah, play the drums. But the guy's like, "Aren't you a little bit young?" And I'm like, "Yeah, she's young for all these old dudes."
She's like, "But love. We were in love."
Yeah.
What does it matter? We're in love.
Yeah. So whatever
Jeffrey's favorite thing, because he had referenced earlier when we were watching this movie, because I was like, "So what do you think the older sister Ingrid's going to get with this FBI agent?" Foreshadowing. He's like, "Well, you know what? At least her age is closer to this guy than Haley's character."
Yeah, because it's like a 15 or 20
Then Haley's character's like, "It's my husband."
Yeah, no.
I was like, "Oh, Jeffrey, you spoke too soon."
But whatever. So it ends up that Patty throws the cat at them. This whole fight ensues. Yeah. But then the agents all break into the house and they end up catching the criminals, freeing the lady in just a nick of time. And then it cuts to the newspapers are posting pictures glorifying the girls, glorifying the cats. One of the criminals trips over and says, "That darn cat," which is a tie into the film, obviously. So then it cuts to the next day, and everybody has some explaining to do. The cops return. The lady dressed as a man, dressed as a lady. Do
we actually ever know her name?
No, I don't. Okay. Probably. Oh no, yeah, they refer to her as Mrs. Whatever, but
Miss Snoopy.
But then Gregory also arrives to try to give Ingrid a ride to work now that he knows what's going on. But then as he's walking out, Kelso also pulls up in his car to give Ingrid a ride to work. So at least that they are romantically tied and it's not creepy 20 years difference. I mean, it's still probably 10 years difference, but still. Okay. Whatever. So Ingrid gets a ride from Kelso, which upsets Gregory. He's like, what about Mother? What about Mother? He's gone.
Give your regards to my mother. Or your mother.
And I literally wrote here, for once Hayley Mills isn't the one going after the older men. And then Canoe shows up to try to reconcile with Patty.
Yeah, I apologize.
And she invites him in to make a sandwich because his homeboy loves to eat. Because we didn't touch on that earlier, but when she kept turning away, he's like, "What about me coming in to make a sandwich? I want to make a sandwich. I want to eat."
We did because I said it becomes an occurrence in this movie. Every time he shows up, he talks about coming in to make a sandwich. So then she he reconciles at the end, and she's like, "Yeah, so well, that's great. You're maturing, and you didn't want to think about food." And he was like, "What?" And then she's like, "Why don't you come in and you can make yourself a weird sandwich?"
But what I loved was, and she's like, "Why can't you look at me or whatever?" and he's like, I can't turn my neck because of the garage
Yeah, the
door.
whole time he like walks up to the
Yeah,
thing,
he's
he's like
like-
stuck like this, and I
yeah.
was like, could you imagine?
So
Like,
he's like, I have,
'cause now
I
in
have a
our-
stiff neck from the garage
yeah, like
door.
we wake up from sleeping and we're like that. And
This dude got stuck in the
in
garage door.
garage door. Yeah.
So whatever, his neck is like turned sideways for our listening audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then it shows like the cat, the darn cat. He goes and visits his new cat family, and we learn that is the reason why he has been prowling each night, was to get food for the family and to visit the cat family.
And they look like little weenies. Little Winstons.
And then that's the end.
Sorry, Winston didn't make an appearance.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cat movie, so he was just like, not into it, guys. Sorry.
And that's the end of this very fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to give us a rating or maybe some facts, or let's talk
So
about
some
Wiz?
interesting little facts that really don't really tie into this movie, but I thought you would find interesting, was while making this film, Haley got to work with 2 future Batman villains from the television
Really?
series. Frank Gorshin would later play the Riddler, and Roddy
My favorite.
McDowell, who would play the Bookworm.
Wow.
The next year, Haley would star in Trouble with Angels, where the first line she spoke in the film was to Madge Blake, who would play Aunt Harriet Cooper in the Batman series.
Wow.
Yeah, so she had some ties to Batman after this, and in this and after this, and
Yeah.
I thought you would find that interesting, being a Batman fan.
I am a Bat fan.
Did you talk about, I don't remember if you referenced, so you talked about how much money they stole, but did you talk about how much it was worth?
No, I didn't look it up.
So in 2023, the $160,000 they stole would have been worth over 1.5 million.
Don't rob banks, people. Those poor people are just trying to do their jobs.
And then, according to Haley Mills' books, the animal trainer would hold a live pigeon in front of the cat to make him hiss.
It's awesome.
And I guess at one point, the cat actually swatted at the bird, splattering pigeon blood on Haley and Dean Jones.
That's what she gets for leaving the company. So what'd you rate it?
So I gave it an 8 out of 10. IMDb gave it a 6.7 out of 10.
You gave it an 8.
I can't remember if I've seen the remake from the
Well,
90s or not.
we'll get there.
I
We'll
gave it
get
an
there.
8. I enjoyed it.
When it ended, you were clapping.
It was very
You gave it like a
comedic.
standing ovation when it ended.
Well,
So
that was also to distract my dog, so that way she'd stop whining, because she's got this thing to where, like, if she's not getting attention in the middle of doing something,
you loved it. So does this clap its way onto your list upon a star? That darn list upon a star?
No,
It doesn't. You gave it an 8.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right. So
So it's gonna hiss its way onto my list. So that means
yeah, I can't believe you.
Alice in Wonderland is coming off, guys. Alice
With
has
the-
fallen down the hole.
We have to do a funeral for Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that makes it Peter Pan your last one. The perfection. That's right. Keep that one pilot down. Dang, you're going big.
Oh, well, I just kind of erased that. Sorry. All right. So my list now is 101 Dalmatians, The Parent Trap, Sleeping Beauty, Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, That Darn Cat hissed its way right up there, The Three Caballeros, Moon Pilot, The Shaggy Dog, and Peter Pan coming in at number 10.
So my list upon a star. This is also making my list upon a star. This was a very fun movie.
It scratched its way up there.
It sure did. $160,000 worth of my list upon a star. This was a really fun movie. It is replacing these dogs in the Lady and the Tramp. Get in the boot, and it's just going to go right down here on the bottom. But my list upon a star is, through the year 1965, is 101 Dalmatians, Mary Poppins, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, still on someone's list like it should be, Babies in Toyland, which was a fantastic movie, Pinocchio, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which has been on it since the beginning, Our Friends in Sleeping Beauty, and lastly, That Darn Cat. So, thank you for hanging out with us again. If you know somebody by that name that you were trying to figure out, Kelso, send us an email, deepdivethemagicpod@gmail.com.
And not from that 70s show.
Thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for the listens and the likes and the references. Again, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, fun stuff like that. I think we have a TikTok that we haven't used in more years than these films, but hey, we're getting Disney World soon. We're getting Disney World soon enough, so we'll update. I
thought
it
was going away.
But again, deepdivethemagicpod@gmail.com. Next, we have made it over to the year 1966. We are starting a new year.
Mm-hmm.
We are slowly moving on our way on. And it is the film number 78. And it is, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but it is The Ugly Dachshund. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. The Ugly Dachshund is film number 78 from 1966. We'll see you then.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.